like themselves on their beat in the dark to justify the delicious fancy that they are hurt when hit. Mr. Datchery hails him with, "Halloa, Winks!" He acknowledges the hail with,
"Halloa, Dick!"
their acquaintance seemingly having been established on a familiar footing.
"But I say," he remonstrates, "don't just go now making my name public. I never means to plead for no name, mind you. When they says to me in the lock-up, a going to put me down in the book, 'What's your name?' I says to them, 'Find out!' Likewise, when they say, 'What's your religion?' I says, 'Find out!'"
Which it may be observed in passing would be immensely difficult for the State, however statistical, to do.
"Aside which," adds the boy, "there ain't no family of Winkses."
"I think there must be."
"You lie, there ain't. The travellers give me the name on account of my getting no settled sleep and being knocked up all night, whereby I gets one eye roused open afore I shut the other. That's what Winks means. Deputy's the nice name to indict me by, but you wouldn't catch me pleading to that neither."
"Deputy be it always, then. We two are good friends, eh, Deputy?"
"Jolly good."
"I forgave you the debt you owed me when we first became acquainted, and many of my sixpences have come your way since, eh, Deputy?"
"Aye, and lots more. You ain't no friend of Jasper's. What did he go a-hissing me off my legs for?"
"What indeed? But never mind him now. A shilling of mine is going your way to-night, Deputy. You have just taken in a lodger I have been speaking to, an infirm woman with a cough."
"Puffer,"
assents Deputy, with a shrewd leer of recognition, and smoking an imaginary pipe, with his head very much on one side, and his eyes very much out of their places.
"Hopium Puffer."
"What is her name?"
Royal Highness the Princess Puffer."
"She has some other name than that. Where does she live?"
"Up in London, among the Jacks."
"The sailors?"
"I said so, Jacks, and Chinamen, and other knifers."
"I should like to know, through you, exactly where she lives."
"All right, give us hold."
A shilling passes, and in that spirit of confidence which should pervade all business transactions between principals of honour, this piece of business is considered done.
"But here's a lark!" cries Deputy. "Where do you think Her Royal Highness is a-going to-morrow morning? Blest if she ain't going to the Kinfeederal!"
He greatly prolongs the word in his ecstasy, and smites his leg, and doubles himself up in a fit of shrill laughter. "How do you know that, Deputy?"
"'Cause you told me so just now. She says she must be up and about of purpose. She says, 'Deputy, I must have an early wash, and make myself as swell as I can, for I'm a-going to take a turn at the Kinfeederal.'"
He separates the syllables with his former zest, and not finding his sense of the ludicrous sufficiently relieved by stamping about on the pavement, breaks into a slow and stately dance, perhaps supposed to be performed by the Dean. Mr. Datchery receives the communication with a well satisfied, though pondering face, and breaks up the conference. Returning to his quaint lodging, and sitting long over the supper of bread and cheese and salad and ale which Mrs. Tope has left prepared for him, he still sits when his supper is finished. At length he rises, throws open the door of a corner cupboard, and refers to a few uncouth chalked strokes on its inner side. "I like," says Mr. Datchery, "the old tavern way of keeping scores. Illegible except to the scorer. The scorer is not committed, the scored debited with what is against him. A very small score this, a very poor score. He sighs over the contemplation of its poverty, takes a bit of chalk from one of the cupboard shelves, and pauses with it in his hand, uncertain what addition to make to the account. "I think a moderate stroke," he concludes, "is all I am justified in scoring up." So suits the action to the word, closes the cupboard, and goes to bed. A brilliant morning shines on the old city. Its antiquities and ruins are surpassingly beautiful, with a lusty ivy gleaming in the sun, and the rich trees waving in the balmy air. Changes of glorious light from moving boughs, songs of birds, scents from gardens, woods, and fields, or rather from the one great garden of the whole cultivated island in its yielding time, penetrate into the cathedral, subdue its earthly odour, and preach the resurrection and the life. The cold stone tombs of centuries ago grow warm, and flecks of brightness dart into the sternest marble corners of the building, fluttering there like wings. Comes Mr. Tope with his large keys, and yawningly unlocks and sets open. Come Mrs. Tope, and attendant sweeping sprites. Come, in due time, organist and bellows boy, peeping down from the red curtains in the loft, fearlessly flapping dust from books up at that remote elevation, and whisking it from stops and pedals. Come, sundry rooks from various quarters of the sky, back to the great tower, who may be presumed to enjoy vibration, and to know that bell and organ are going to give it them. Come a very small and straggling congregation indeed, chiefly from Minor Canon Corner and the precincts. Come Mr. Crisparkle, fresh and bright, and his ministering brethren, not quite so fresh and bright. Come the choir, in a hurry, always in a hurry, and struggling into their nightgowns at the last moment, like children shirking bed. And comes John Jasper, leading their line. Last of all comes Mr. Datchery, into a stall, one of a choice, empty collection, very much at his service, and glancing about him for Her Royal Highness the Princess Puffer. The service is pretty well advanced before Mr. Datchery can discern Her Royal Highness, but by that time he has made her out, in the shade. She is behind a pillar, carefully withdrawn from the choir master's view, but regards him with the closest attention. All unconscious of her presence, he chants and sings. She grins when he is most musically fervid. And, yes, Mr. Datchery sees her do it, shakes her fist at him, behind the pillar's friendly shelter. Mr. Datchery looks again to convince himself. Yes, again. As ugly and withered as one of the fantastic carvings on the under brackets of the stall seats, as malignant as the evil one, as hard as the big brass eagle holding the sacred books upon his wings, and, according to the sculptor's representation of his ferocious attributes, not at all converted by them. She hugs herself in her lean arms, and then shakes both fists at the leader of the choir. And at that moment, outside the grated door of the choir, having eluded the vigilance of Mr. Tope by shifty resources in which he is an adept, Deputy peeps, sharp-eyed, through the bars, and stares astounded from the threatener to the threatened. The service comes to an end, and the servitors disperse to breakfast. Mr. Datchery accosts his last new acquaintance outside, when the choir, as much in a hurry to get their bedgowns off as they were but now to get them on, have scuffled away. "Well, mistress, good morning. You have seen him?"
"I've seen him, dearie. I've seen him."
"And you know him?"
"Know him? Better far than all the reverend parsons put together know him."
Mrs. Tope's care has spread a very neat, clean breakfast ready for her lodger. Before sitting down to it, he opens his corner cupboard door, takes his bit of chalk from its shelf, adds one